don't really know how to get into this video, so I'm gonna just break it down into what we're doing. We're making a wish list or theory crafting how characters in Marvel Rivals would play if they actually showed up. I've spent like 30 minutes trying to figure out how to start this video, and I feel like this is the best way to just get into it. So let's start. First, I need to break down the rules. How I'm implementing character. Currently, from what I've seen, Marvel Rivals, certain characters have either more passives or more abilities than the others, and as well as team up. So I just kind of kept it to 4 abilities, 1 ult, 2 passives, and 2 team ups. But certain characters, as you see, I didn't manage to make a team up for, so I'm leaving it up to interpretation of what their team up could be or whatever their second passive could be. But let's get into it, starting with Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider is a very popular character, and honestly I don't see Ghost Rider doing anything else but DPS, so Ghost Rider would fit into the DPS role. His first ability would be his chain, his melee chain. We have his R2, his main attack, his primary fire. It would be long range because it's a very long ass chain, and it could be sweeping, meaning he would attack kind of like Brigitte from Overwatch, where he would swing it around and hit people. He would have a chain grab like Roadhog, where it allows him to grab enemies and stun them in front of him for a while. A flamethrower ability where he opens his mouth and shoots flames and deals like very high close range damage, making it a little bit bursty, right? I feel like Ghost Rider really wants to keep you in his range, and the flamethrower just adds to like the higher close range damage that he can dish out. And the last ability that I'm giving Ghost Rider is a dash. So his bike dash for me would have two ways of using it. It would have a hold and a tap. So the hold allows you to dash forward, right? And he would swing his chain around, doing a lot of damage while dashing forward. But if you tap it, he summons the bike, but he throws it and it causes an explosion. And I probably have a visual on screen of what the animation would look like. He would throw it and it would cause an explosion, right? Which I just think it'd be very fucking cool. So that's all his main abilities that I'm giving him. Moving on to his ult. His ult, obviously, if you know Ghost Rider, I already missed the ability, and honestly, it's the only thing that fits as an ult, and that's his penance stare. His penance stare for me, it would either be a one-shot kill once he grabs you, or a stun lock, but it would only work on one character, because obviously penance stare only works on one person. He has to look you in the eyes for it even to happen in the first place. So pretty simple. Moving on to his passives. His passives for me would be that his bike dash would allow him to dash up walls or ride on the side of walls, and a healing factor. Honestly, the healing factor you can kind of get rid of and think of something else. I couldn't think of anything else better than a healing factor, which would let him regen health slowly. You could give him his Reaper's old passive, now that I'm thinking about it, where if he does damage to people, then he regens health instead of even just regenerating health like Wolverine or something. And his team up, again, I have no idea. Team up, I don't even know who else is coming to the game, and I've never seen Ghost Rider team up with most anyone before, right? I'm pretty sure there's probably some team ups that people can think of that come to your mind when you think Ghost Rider and another hero, but that shit doesn't come to me. I don't know what a good team up for Ghost Rider would be. You guys can come up with a Ghost Rider team up. Our next character that we'll be covering will be Wolverine. Wolverine, pretty simple. DPS, there's no way around it. Trying to figure out a way for Wolverine to be a healer would be a very good thought experiment. Wolverine is DPS, and let's get into his abilities. So his right trigger, whatever you want. His normal attack would be a short range melee slashes. Obviously, Wolverine is a melee character with a large AoE, and by AoE, what I mean is the slashes themselves, though they're short, I want them to be like the claw marks that show up once you attack people, to be very large so that he can attack, like he can hit more than one person. Let's say 2 characters are grouped up, then he can hit those 2 characters at the same time, 2 or 3 characters at the same time, which would make sense. Wolverine's claws are pretty long for the short range that they do hit, so his claw marks having an AoE would be pretty cool. cool. It would also make him a bit different. His next ability would be a lunge into a throw for smaller characters or into backstabs for larger characters. So the follow-up would be a hold. So depending on the character you're attacking, let's say Wolverine lunges into Spider-Man. The lunge itself, the first big lunge that he does, will hit the character. But if you hit the character, if you're holding the lunge, right, then for smaller characters, he stabs into them and throws them. But for larger characters, say like the Hulk, he would lunge into them and then stab them like twice or one or three times, whatever the amount you want. So he lunges at them and stabs them a couple of times and then jumps off. Because obviously, there's no way the fucking Logan's throwing the Hulk in this game. Unless you want to. I mean, do whatever you want. It is a comic book game. You can just say that he can throw all these giant ass characters. But personally, I feel like this is more realistic, that he can't just throw Hulk around. So that's why I gave them the other follow-ups. The next one would be a skewer grab. So the skewer grab would allow Logan to use people as shields for a little bit. So the way I would see you would play Logan is if your character is, you kind of lunge into them and then do this grab, which would stab them again, right? Holding on to the character, and maybe if the enemy team was close to you once you attack this person, because you're a DPS, right? If the enemy team was close to you, the skewer grab would allow you to tank some of the damage that they're dishing out on you, trying to kill Logan and end up killing their teammates type stuff. So yeah, skewer grab, pretty good. Allows you to use enemies as shields. I'd probably have this with a duration, but honestly I'm not balancing any of this stuff. You can add the duration, the damage numbers later, so this is just concept stuff. Probably should have mentioned that in the beginning of the video, but it's alright. His last ability would be a spark shot, because honestly I feel like you need at least one projectile or a way to close the gap, and I feel like this would make sense. So spark would be Wolverine flashing his claws together and making like a spark ball that deals some damage or causes a flash. Whatever it does, it's pretty okay. I feel like you either give him a single shot projectile or you give him a flashbang, so it's fine. And his ult. So his ult for me would be beast mode or feral mode or whatever you want to call it, right? Where he gets very angry and he goes into his anger state. This would boost his regeneration, making him a lot harder to kill. Almost unkillable, actually. Like, I feel like you'd need to one-shot him or stun him out of it and increase his damage and reduce the cooldown for his abilities when he kills people. Since he's a DPS and he's very close range, when he kills people, I feel like he should be seeing Logan in this state should like ring some alarm bells in the enemy team squad, like, oh, we gotta take him down now, because that's kind of the thing with Logan. Everyone has to focus him at some point when he gets mad. So I try to implement that into his ult. So this is what I came up with. And his passives are kind of simple. His first passive is health regen, but it has to be slow. It has to be a slower health regen. This game is kind of like OG Overwatch, where I'm pretty sure there's no auto regen for all characters. You have to go to health pickups. So Logan just regenerating on health on his own when he's either out of combat or something like that. It's just simple. It's just basic. It's part of his kit. It's part of his power set anyway. So just implement it. And his second passive is the ability to climb up walls. So unlike maybe Spider-Man, he'd be more like, I think, Black Panther, where he can just climb but stabs into the wall and then lunges himself upwards, but he can't stick onto the wall or stay grappled onto the wall for very long for any period of time. He can only propel himself upwards. So the ability to climb walls. his team up, again, I'm stumped on this one. You guys can probably come up with more creative team ups than me, and I swear there are team ups. I did make team ups for some characters. It's just these ones are very hard. I couldn't think of any. Next character would be Venom, and Venom I see as a tank, because honestly, if they put Venom in this game, he better be fucking huge, bro. He has to be massive. They made Punisher look gigantic in this game, and Hulk is also huge, so Venom would also have to be giant. So because of how the build of Venom, it just makes sense to make him a tank. So his first ability would be web shots. I think it'd be a lot bigger than Spider-Man's, because obviously Venom's fucking huge. And unlike Spider-Man, and I wouldn't give him a recharge on his web shots because honestly, Venom doesn't have web cartridges. It's the symbiote, so it doesn't make sense for him to have a recharge. You could nerf it a bit, but take away some of the damage. But again, that's all balancing stuff, and I don't cover balancing. I'm just making the kit. His second ability would be the Venom Shield. The Venom Shield would be just like the Marvel vs. Capcom one. I'll probably have it up on screen. What the Venom Shield would look like. Properties of the Venom Shield themselves, and it would work like Reinhardt or any of the other Shield characters in where he brings up the shield and it kind of works like Reinhardt. But I feel like Venom would still be able to attack with his tendrils after this. So let's just get into his second ability, would be Web Swing. Third ability actually, which would be Web Swing. I'm not sure if this one counts, but if it does, then his third ability is Web Swing, and it would be just like Spider-Man, but a bit heavier with a web zip and probably a bit slower than Spider-Man. I'm not sure if Spider-Man's Web Swing counts as a whole ability on itself. I probably should have researched before actually starting this recording, but if it does, then this is his third ability. If it doesn't, then I'll probably have something on screen. And his last ability, like I mentioned before with his Web Shield, is his Tendril Strike, which is his melee, so it would be his other attack. So for close ranges, Venom would have a Tendril attack that allows him to hit people in close range. Pretty simple. The symbiote just allows Eddie to attack people. Also, I want it to be Eddie. I don't want any other Venom. It has to be Eddie Brock. His ult. So his ult. Venom's ult to me could either be Venom Web or Dead Bite. And Dead Bite, if you don't know what Dead Bite is, if you've seen Marvel vs. Capcom, this is Dead Bite. Probably have it up on screen again. They kind of work the same. It will just look different. And I guess the main point of the ult is just to have a high damage AoE ult. So that's what I was going for. But you could probably change it up. I wouldn't mind if Venom didn't have an AoE ult and had something different instead. For his passive, Venom would have Spider-Man's Wall Crawl, Wall Latch, and Wall Run. Obviously, he's Venom. Can copy all that shit. And his second passive, again, I don't know. This could honestly be Spider Sense or something similar or something else, but this is probably what I'd go with for his passive. His second passive is up to interpretation. I don't know. His team up. So his team up, I did say I'd give 2 team ups, but I only got 1. Again, I was stumped on what his second team up was supposed to be, but his first team up should be Venom Link. And Venom Link would give Spider-Man the black suit. So this black suit would give Spider-Man more damage and more range. Simple stuff like that. It would just be very cool to team up with Spider-Man and give him the black suit, and then you do a lot more damage. So Spider-Man just becomes a lot more dangerous for the enemy team once Venom is around. So it would be very cool. So that's what I came up with. And his second passive, I have no idea. I'm leaving it up to the interpretation again. You guys can probably come up with something better for his second for his second team up. And the last character actually is Captain America. And Captain America I see as a DPS support hybrid. He would mainly be support. I feel like he'd be able to deal good damage even in the support role. So his ability is a melee attack, but the melee attack has 2 versions of it, with the shield or without the shield. So with the shield, Captain America does more damage and has more range, but without the shield he attacks a bit faster. His second ability would be shield throw. So the shield can bounce and you can tap the shield throw button again to recall the shield. Bounces would let the shield gain more damage. So if you threw the shield into a corridor and it bounced on the walls, it will just gain more damage up to a point and just deal a lot of damage once it hits someone. His third ability would be shields up, like Brigitte from Overwatch. He has a high health shield that lets him that protects him and his allies from damage. It would be pretty good, but you would require the shield in order to do this ability. And his last ability would be Pep Talk or Leader's Motivation or whatever you want to call it, which gives a damage buff to characters for a set period of time, how long the damage buff lasts for, or how much of a damage buff it is. Again, that's specific stuff. I'm not going to go into that. So a damage buff for his fourth ability. And his ult would be a push forward or for justice, whatever. It would be a call ult. It would just be a massive buff for the team, which gives everyone on the team invincibility for a bit, or a shield or whatever, or death negate or whatever for a period of time, kind of like Zenyatta's ult from Overwatch, or that one girl's ult from Paladins. I forget her name, red hair. Damn, I used to play her too. I forgot. I'll probably have her up on screen. And passives. Cap's first passive, I would have it be I can do this all day, and it has to be I can do this all day, where when Cap starts getting low on health, right, he takes less damage for a period. He starts taking reduced damage when Captain America starts getting low on health. And his second passive is the Cap Dash. This would be a shield bash, where if you're running with Captain America for a period of time, he would bring out his shield. If you have the shield on you, obviously he'd bring up the shield, and it would be, and you can protect himself for a bit. Obviously this protection would be lower than his shield up ability, right, but it would protect him for a bit as he rushes at people with his shield, which would be pretty good for handling like people in corridors and stuff if you haven't thrown your shield, or maybe you're trying to protect another squishier support that's behind you. It'd be pretty cool. So you dash in, take some of the bullets, and then do shield up and fully protect the person who's behind you, which would be pretty cool. And his team up, I would say his first team up would be that with shield up, he can deflect allies bullets and lasers. So I had to specifically say that he can deflect off the front of Captain America's shield and gain a damage boost. So it has to be specifically the front. So Captain America can't be blocking damage for you. You shoot through his shield and then gain the damage, but Cap would kind of have to be aimed at you, and his bullets would have to deflect in a certain way so that it can actually hit the person you want, right? So it would be a bit technical. You probably have to line it up with your friends, but it would be a big damage buff when your bullets deflect off Captain America's shield and stuff. So it would be very cool. And then again, the second team up ability, I have no idea. Honestly, it's hard to make to theory craft characters' abilities when there's not an exact concrete amount of team ups or passives that a character can have. Certain characters, like I mentioned, have more passives and more team ups than other characters, but this structure I have kind of feels very fair and kind of feels like it gives you something to base your characters off of. So maybe in the future, it's just easier to come up with character concepts. But hey, I've rambled off long enough. Please do all that YouTube stuff. Please like the video, subscribe, and share. Check out the socials in the description, and I'll check you guys in the next one.